land of Ham, Hamites in Egypt, and Psalm 78:51 connects the tents of Ham with Egypt. Hamites were black. Contrary to popular belief, Egypt, the people were black. They did not look like Charlton Heston or Hugh Brenner or Elizabeth Taylor. They looked like us. The same with the Hamites. They were Hamitic people. Genesis 10 starts it off with Nimrod, the son of Cush. Cush, when you hear the word Cush, it means black. I know in the popular culture, Cush means weed, but no, Cush means black. He founded a civilization, and the civilization was Mesopotamia. In Genesis 11, you find that Abraham, the father of the covenant, the father of the nations, was from a land called Ur, where the Chaldees lived. And in that land, it was inhabited by mostly black people. And so when you look at TBN and look at all the shows, and thank God that they do produce shows about the Bible, they did not look like the white people we see with the beards and the blue eyes. They look like us. And I want to tell you, even so, I just want to tell you, all this stuff is supported by archaeology and history. And know that the Prince Melchizedek was black. He was from that same land. The high priest, the first one that they paid tithes to, was black. Genesis 14 tells us that Abraham experienced in Canaan. Now we're getting ready to get interesting. Canaan was north of Egypt, where we would see now around the Gaza Strip, where all this turmoil is going on in Israel. Canaan was north of Egypt. Ethiopia was south of Egypt. And Abraham and his family went to this land that was inherited by black people, Hamitic people, Hamites, us. Both, again, archaeological evidence and history proves this. The land of Canaan were the descendants of Ham. It's getting ready to get deep. Look at your neighbor and say, it's getting deep. Further black presence can be found in the accounts of Hagar, the Egyptian wife, a servant of Abraham, Ishmael, and his Ishmael's sons. They became Kedar. Kedar means black. The Kedarites are mentioned many times in Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Nehemiah, and the word Kedar is blackness. So we know that Abraham, we know that his maidservant, they were black. Their children were black. Say black. We got to say it like they were black. When we move on, check this out. When we move on into the Exodus story, the children of Israel, the slaves were not all Israelites. It's getting ready to get deep, y'all. Some of the slaves were Egyptians. Some of the slaves were Canaanites. So when they had the mass exodus, they were mixed already. All were black or from that area, Persian, which they were all dark. They were not European. I want you to understand, the Canaanites, if you look at Exodus 12, 37, 38, in Exodus 18, it talks about Zipporah, Moses' wife, who was a Canaanite or Midianite, whose father was Jethro, and Moses' family had Cush roots. How could Aaron have sons and grandsons that were black and him not be black? How could Moses spend 40 years in Pharaoh's place and pass as one of his children if he did not look like Pharaoh? This information is really just used to empower us and erase the mentalities. The whole goal here is not so I can sit here and say, aha, I know this and you don't know. It's to empower us. It's to empower us and know that we were very much a part of the biblical text, the biblical story. The prophet, check this out, Songs of Solomon. In the King James Version, Songs of Solomon 1 and 5, King Solomon says, I am, who's read it? I am. Some of them say dark, but it says, I am black. Cush, a Benjaminite. Cush, a Benjaminite named Saul, led and was the king, the first king of Israel. He was black. He was a descendant of the tribe of Benjamin. See, it's getting deeper, y'all. It's getting deeper. The prophet Zephaniah Zephaniah was the father was Cush, which means blackness, and his great-grandfather was Amariah. His great-great-grandfather was King Hezekiah. If you go to Zephaniah 1:1, you'll find that Zephaniah was the black prophet in the Old Testament, and his prophecies went on in the year about